Things seem to be copacetic. And now we're live. Late and live. Well, let's see what we get. Things seem to be late and live. Late and live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the live stream. We are live. Let me get my link going here. Oh boy, I don't even know what my link is. All right, let's go to my channel and put my own name in. There I am. There we are. There I am live. Okay. Go back to Twitter. I am late and live. Live stream. And Kite is here. I'm so late. Sorry to be late, Kite. Well, live is never late when it's I can never read this because there's a heart over it. Icon or something. When it's a day. Welcome to the live stream. Sorry I'm late. Just day late and a dollar short. Story of my life, as they say. We are here live with the live stream, and now I've even pulled this off. For some reason, has now messed me up. Okay, didn't mean to do that. Hold on. There we go. I'll just leave it there where it was. What am I doing? What am I doing? Okay. Okay. Got it. There. When it's a day early. Thank you. Well, live is never late when it's a day early. Yes, that makes way more sense. Thank you. Thank you. Stupid heart. It drives me nuts. I wish I could delete it. This heart shows up, an icon over the chat, but just at the bottom, just at the people's sentences at the end, and just the most recent one, which is the wrong. Like if it was at the top, who would care? Because those I would have already read. Anyhow, Kite, welcome to the live stream. Hopefully we'll get some people in here. I didn't really advertise. I just posted on Twitter just now. But I was just at the 13th Child Brewery in Williamstown, New Jersey. And they had an outdoor holiday market, which was great. I sold some books. And then the sun went in. And I thought I was going to die because it was so damn cold. And then they said, oh, you want to stay? There's going to be a live band. And I said, sure, at first. And then it got really cold. And then I said, screw it, I'm out of here. It kind of died down anyway. But I'll be back. Tomorrow's show, for those of you who may see this before then, Oddball Vintage is canceled again due to weather. Inclement weather. Jeez. They will, however, be taking pictures with Krampus for you hipsters out there who, for some reason, hate Santa. I never really got the whole Krampus thing. Like, I mean, I get it, but I don't get, like, people taking pictures with Krampus instead of Santa, because Krampus is evil. Like, I would understand if Krampus showed up and people, like, I don't know, threw stuff at him and went, boo, Krampus, you suck. But no, hipsters apparently enjoy the idea of taking their kids to the anti-Santa. I don't get it. I really don't, but I guess they figure it's European and it must be cool. I have a Krampus story for the Pineys, but I haven't published it yet. I'm saving it for a short story anthology that I have an idea for. It's going to be holiday themed, and it'll be like a year in the life of the Pineys. So I think that'll be exciting. I'm not sure when I'm going to do it though. I may sort of do it on the side kind of like whenever I get an idea, which is usually that's the best way to get ideas, I think. You know, when you're inspired, you write. And so maybe like in a year, not in 2024, but maybe in 2025, but I'm not sure. I might put it out in October of next year because I kind of want some Christmassy stuff in it so I can say it's a Christmas book. Because I've done a lot of shows where people go, oh, it's Jersey Devil stuff. I don't know. It's not for Christmas. But then I'll have a Christmas Pineys book. You see where I'm headed with that. So anyhow, Oddball Vintage canceled. And the next thing for me, I'm going to be on a TV show. But it's only online, I think. But I'll be talking about it next week. It's called the RVN Network, and I'm not totally 100% sure what it is. But it's very South Jersey. And that's why I was instantly invited to be a guest. So it's nice to be instantly invited places. Which sometimes happens to me because I do Jersey Devil stuff. I know most of you don't live in South Jersey. But for those of you who don't, the Jersey Devil is a real thing down here. And so when you're an expert on the Jersey Devil, people go, ooh, if they know what it is, which most people in South Jersey do. And so when I invite myself places or I offer my services to tell the story of the Jersey Devil, they go, oh, of course. So that was one of the places I called, and they were just like, oh yeah. When can you come in? You know, other places I call and they just go, who are you? JEC is here. Hi. Hi, JEC. Welcome to the live stream, my late early live stream. Yeah, tomorrow I'm doing family stuff. Well, I'm doing a family dinner, and I'm pretty sure I won't be back in time. It was also going to be hectic because I was going to do the Oddball Vintage show, but now that it's canceled, it won't be as hectic. I'll get some yard work done or something. That's like one thing I absolutely hate. Ugh. I hate more than anything in the world yard work. It's awful. I just hate it. I hate mowing the grass. I hate raking. Gardening. You can go after yourself. Gardening sucks. I don't like it. I'm terrible at it. The only part of gardening I kind of like... Joan, I'm telling a story. Here, you can sit here. I know. You hear the noises outside. It's fine. It's fine. I hate gardening, but the only part I liked about it was food, because I like to eat. But the thing is, I tried to do gardening here, and we have too many aggressive squirrels in my neighborhood. Honestly, I grew a bunch of tomatoes, and they ate everything. Between the squirrels and just critters in general. Here's what I have in my, and keep in mind I have a very tiny, fenced-in, suburban backyard. Oh, I think I just got a ding. What was that? Oh, this was the game we were playing earlier. All right, I'll look at that later. So it's very fenced in. It's very tiny. But for some reason, animals love my yard. So I have moles. I have possums come by, groundhog, skunk, the squirrels, very aggressive squirrels, raccoon. Every once in a while, family of raccoons will stop by. Hawks. I got to watch out the hawks for little Joan. I can't let her outside in the backyard by herself. You would think I lived in, I don't know, Wyoming with a back 40 or something. No, I live in a tiny little suburban plot of land, and I can't let my little dog go out there by herself because there's just too many damn animals coming to and from my yard, including the hawks. I don't blame them for coming here. There seems to be plenty of food and tons of birds. When I first moved here, the previous owners had bird houses to beat the band. I literally spent 2 weeks removing bird houses from the backyard. Now you might say, oh, you're a jerk. Those birds live there. Well, it was after they were gone. I didn't The birds weren't in it, number one. And number two, they were all kind of rotting and they looked bad. I kept like a couple for a while, but most of them we got rid of. But the birds kept coming back. They just said, "Oh, F you. We don't have houses now. Well, we'll perch in the trees and chirp continuously." And so if I ever open my windows to go to sleep, like on a, one of those perfect nights where you could do that, oh, I won't get any sleep because the moment the sun comes up, it'll be tweet, 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 tweet. So close those windows right up. So there's a ton of animals in my backyard, and they just eat everything. I grew tomatoes and a few other things, including like dill. The only thing survived was the dill. I grew some spices as well. They ate all the spices except the dill. I guess forest creatures don't like dill. The only shot I think I have of gardening at all would be to put the tomatoes inside the house, or maybe I could do it on my back patio if I elevated the planter box a little bit. Then maybe they wouldn't come all the way over just to get at those tomatoes. But literally every tomato that grew in my yard, it would just start turning, right? It'd be green, and then it'd be a little orange. Ooh, okay. A couple of days I can pick this. Little orange, just about ripe. Boom. Big bite out of it. Stupid squirrels. So, can't grow anything. Fortunately, my parents live on a farm, and they love growing stuff. And they grow a bunch of stuff. Which, by the way, I've been meaning to tell this story. This kind of shocked me. Now, as a person who has a black thumb and can't grow anything, and, being soft and squishy individual that likes to be very comfortable, I had only, I didn't know much about farming or the slaughter of animals. My dad knows all that stuff. He'd tell me stuff. But, I'd be like, I ain't doing that. But one day, he'd been growing lettuce. Now, normally he'd grow romaine lettuce. And romaine lettuce grows just like you find it in the stores, basically. It's greener, but it basically just grows out of the ground almost exactly the way it is in the bag, which is kind of funny because you just see it like, chop it off, put it right in the bag. But he decided last year, I think it was, to grow iceberg lettuce, right? Now, I always thought they called iceberg lettuce iceberg because it was practically white, right? You get iceberg lettuce and it's barely green. Like, it's barely green. You can see the green, but it's mostly white. It's almost like solid white throughout the entire head of lettuce. Then my dad grew some fresh, and let me tell you something. It's not supposed to be that color. It was green. Like the entire head, all the way into it, green. So imagine, if you will, and you can only imagine it unless you do this. Imagine a head of iceberg lettuce that's green. Like fairly dark green all the way through. And it's delicious. Like it's like tasting a completely different vegetable when you eat it. And no, I didn't confuse it with cabbage. It's actual lettuce. I'm telling you, nothing beats growing your own. Or getting fresh fruit. Now, I also, because I live in South Jersey, I am near many produce stands and farms. So I do have access to fresh produce if I go outside of the supermarket to get it. But it just amazed me when I saw that. I'm like, what did you grow? He's like, well, that's iceberg lettuce. And I'm like, that's iceberg lettuce? That's the way it's supposed to look? He's like, yep. It's amazing. The difference is stark. It's absolutely stark. And that's why I tried to grow some stuff after I saw that. But yeah, it ain't gonna happen. I think I'm gonna try to grow stuff inside the house one year. Like, I almost did it this winter. I thought about bringing in a planter, putting it in my windowsill, and then trying to remember to water it every day. I think that could work. I think I could get some decent tomatoes in the winter, which would be pretty cool. Like, imagine fresh tomatoes dead of winter. And again, like when you get them in stores, it's like they're not good because in order to get to the stores, they practically have to pick them green. I mean, this is things people really don't know unless they know farmers. They literally pick most fruits and vegetables like dead ass green. They're big, but they're green because they have to keep them from ripening until they get to the store. Once they get to the store, they usually sit in the back for a few rotations, depending on how busy it is. And so they have to time the ripening of the fruits and vegetables. And partly how they do that too is not only do they pick certain fruits and vegetables dead ass green, but then they use ripening agents to make them ripen faster. So they're not even going through the process of ripening in a natural way, which again is why a lot of it tastes kind of off as compared to like fresh. And then you get a fresh tomato and it's like almost a different food. So anyhow, that's my food rant. Let's get into the numbers, the important things, movies. Oh, and before we get into the numbers, I have to talk about the most insane trailer I saw this week. And if you haven't seen it, I have to alert you to it. You may want to just stop watching and go see this. It's that insane. Okay, so now I'm going to say the title of this movie, YouTube, but this is the title of a movie, not anything I did, and I'm not saying this in any kind of negative way. I'm just repeating the title of a movie that Hollywood made. Ban them from YouTube if you don't like it. I don't think you will because the trailer's all over the place. Kite, how do I already know what the trailer is? Yes, because everybody is talking about it. Kite says, I hate even remembering. I don't blame you. It's called the American Society of Magical Negroes. And that is the title of an actual movie. And I was flabbergasted when I saw it too. It is horrific. It is like, when you first hear it, you think, oh, it's got to be a comedy, like a crazy comedy. You know, like Dave Chappelle and a bunch of his bros wrote it, and it's like a huge send-up of Hollywood and race, and nope, I don't think so. Not the trailer I saw. It's kind of meant to be semi-serious. I'm not kidding. It is... I called it Black Harry Potter. It kind of is Black Harry Potter, but written by people who are so woke they're racist. Because even though they're trying to be super not racist, they're trying so hard they end up being racist. It is bad. It is bad. The premise is based on a Hollywood woke trope, or Hollywoke trope, I'll say, that there's always, and this is a lot of these are in Stephen King stories, but that there's always a magical guy who is black who assists the hero in his journey. And as I said on my analysis, that kind of is not really true. It's true, sort of. Like, there's always like a secondary figure in a hero's journey, especially if there's fantasy or magic in it, that helps the hero. And they're sometimes they're magical or they have powers. And then a lot of times they tend to be black people. And the reason is, in the modern day, because people are woke and they just, insist on putting black people in everything, because they're just woke. Or what happened, I think, was there was some amount of racism in Hollywood, but then there were people in LA being progressive when they weren't totally insane who were trying to fight it, and they thought, well, we got to put some black people in the movie at a time when they really never casted people who were black and leads. So, but they could get away with casting them as the assistant. Kite, what annoys me is the side character that helps the hero is troped to always be the real hero of the story. So why are they complaining? It's just like, I think it started out as a joke. Like, again, like, prior to 2016, I think if you had pitched that movie, they would have laughed and said, sure, yeah, get Dave Chappelle and a bunch of crazy guys and do like an insane comedy. As a comedy, I think it could work. Because as a comedy, you'd like make it over the top, right? You'd put every trope in it imaginable, and it would just be insane. And it would be so ridiculous, people would laugh at it. Like, the closest thing to a movie like that came out recently was a sci-fi movie called They Cloned Tyrone with Jamie Foxx and John Boyega, which is actually pretty good, by the way. It's not bad. Pretty funny. The premise is kind of every black conspiracy theory is true because this guy, this scientist, started cloning people and essentially artificially created the hood and keeps people oppressed within it to test various products and mind control people. I'm not exactly sure how that helps black people because the big reveal is that the guy doing this is black, but I think it was to eventually help them, but it gets out of control or whatever. But because everybody in the movie is such a stereotype, like, so there's a drug dealer, a pimp, a prostitute, and it's way over the top, and they're all being cloned, and they're all being killed at various times. It kind of works. And eventually they break their programming in the movie, and that's part of the movie. But in this one, in the society movie, I'll call it, that doesn't seem to be the case. It's like Hogwarts. It's about as funny as Harry Potter, which means it's not really meant to be funny. Like, there might be an amusing moment in it, but the reason Harry Potter can be amusing at times is, even though it's a fantastic world, it works, and it kind of is, it is grounded somewhat in a reality. Not our reality, but partially. Their movie, this society, I'll say, is not grounded in reality. It's grounded in ideology. It's grounded in like CRT nonsense. And it's nuts because it basically implies that every white person in the movie is a cauldron of like rage just simmering below the surface. And if the various characters don't do everything in their power to make sure white people are happy, they'll explode and do something terrible to black people. That is actually the premise of the movie. It's nuts. It's nuts. It never should have been greenlit like that. You know, if it was a ridiculous movie, you could let it go because it's like, oh, well, it's just a stupid movie. It doesn't make any sense. But then maybe there'd be funny moments in it, you know, about race or whatever. No, it's kind of semi-serious because there's a love story in it. And one of the comments I got was, well, it's a satire. I think it'll be fine. Something like that. And I said, but what is it a satire of? It's not really satirizing anything. It's just, I think, being racist. So that was clearly the most insane thing Hollywood's put out so far. And that's the crazy thing about it. Hollywood's just putting out movie after movie, and they're just stinker after stinker. Speaking of which, let's get into the box office and see what stinkers came out this weekend. Number one is Wonka. Now, we are in, this is the chart for Friday, keep in mind. Wonka is slated to probably make something around 30 to 40 million, somewhere in there. Right now we're at 14.4. I guess this is since it premiered. I don't know if there was a Thursday opening. Oh, it looks like it did okay internationally. Internationally, it's already made 43 million. I find that kind of shocking. Wow, the United Kingdom, 11 million. So it made almost as much in the United Kingdom as it did in the United States. This thing opened in China? It did. Interesting. So looks like it's doing pretty well overseas. So this is going to be a hit. This book was international. I don't think it's awful, but it doesn't look great. It looks like it's full of whimsy and, I don't know, sappy scenes. So it's, as much as I loved the first Willy Wonka movie, I have no interest in this. Just none. How are you going to beat Gene Wilder? Like, if they had done this when he was alive and threw him in it, maybe I could have been like, all right, well, Gene Wilder's at least in it. But, yeah, I don't know. Maybe when it comes to streaming, I'll take a look, but Hugh Grant, and this is the thing. The woke-tards in Hollywood screaming and screaming and screaming about, oh, you have to be that kind of person to play that kind of person. BS, which makes no sense because actors are actors and they play different roles. But Hugh Grant, for some reason, was cast as the Oompa Loompa. And Hugh Grant is a normal-sized human man. Kite. Apparently some more conservative people are liking it. The Wonka movie or the Society movie? So Hugh Grant, you know, no slight against him. I mean, if he wants to do the movie, I don't care. But although I think he's singing in it too and dancing. It's weird that they would even cast him. I know Hugh Grant's getting back into the mix and he's being cast in everything, but my God, I wouldn't have thought, oh yeah, let's cast Hugh Grant as the Oompa Loompa. Kite, the Wonka movie. Really? Conservatives are liking the Wonka thing. Oh, well, maybe it's wholesome. I mean, good if it is. I just can't. It doesn't look like enough like the first movie for me to go, yeah. Like, to me, the first movie with Gene Wilder has such nice, jaunty music. That's why I wanted to see it. You know, the remake, it didn't really seem to be all that jaunty and fun. This looks boring and sappy. But maybe not. Maybe it's just what they showed in the trailer. But anyhow, the woke-tards seem to want, you know, short people to play short people. Kite, seen a few posts on Twitter. So if you want dwarves to play dwarves, and Peter Dinklage made a big deal about Snow White and the Seven Dwarves, well, where's the outrage on this movie, right? Like, Oompa Loompas are essentially the Wonka version of dwarves. Should have been Peter Dinklage, if anybody. Although, I can't imagine they'd feel comfortable even calling him up and casting him in the role. Because the first thing he'd probably say, being super sensitive to it, oh, you're only casting me in this because I'm short? Yes. Yes, we are, because that's the new rule, apparently. No one can voice Apu unless they're Indian. No one can voice Cleveland unless they're black. So, yeah, That's what we're doing now, but not now. So it's the inconsistency in Hollywood that really cheeses people off, I think. And that's kind of why I just see this movie and go, I'll wait. I can wait. Kite. Well, he doesn't want dwarves to play dwarves, so they can't argue with him because he's a dwarf. LOL. Yeah, it's like, so you don't want dwarves to play dwarves. Well, what are they supposed to play? Are you just supposed to cast them in? I don't know. Like if you cast dwarves in a football movie, I think you're gonna have a problem. If you cast dwarves in a basketball movie, again, I think you're going to have a problem. I mean, I'm not saying they can't act, but I'm saying, how are you going to do a basketball movie? How are you going to do a movie about, like, they just shot this movie not too long ago about the Lakers, you know, when they were really good and crazy times. You're going to cast a bunch of dwarves? Oh, well, we don't see height. Kite, he pulled the ladder up behind him after having it handed to him by Troy, Mini-Me, and Austin Powers, and Hornswoggle of WWE fame. I mean, look, I think Peter Dinklage is a good actor. I really do. It was very weird for him to come out with a statement. Now, it may be that he had said something on a podcast and then it got twisted around, but I just think he should have kept his mouth shut because he was high profile enough that they would never call him for a role like Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. They just would never call him because they would say, well, Peter Dinklage, he's not going to want to be one of the dwarves. He's going to want to be the dwarf. But, or not a dwarf. So, I don't know. He should not. These celebrities can't help themselves. Again, it's part of the social media world we live in where, like, celebrities never used to have this much exposure. They had exposure, but it was in newspapers and the occasional TV interview, which meant the only time you heard about this kind of stuff is if it was in, say, Playboy magazine or Rolling Stone when they were big and interesting, and then someone in the interview would say something so outrageous, so interesting that it got repeated on the news or on a talk show. And that was fairly rare. And even when it happened, it usually took a few weeks, if not months, before anybody realized, oh yeah, he said this in an interview. So sometimes you'd see a celebrity come on a TV show and they'd say, you said in a Rolling Stone interview last summer, blah, blah, blah. And by that time, the impact of it was so blunted, you know, you couldn't have that. Even if it was that controversial, it was never that controversial. Arden is here. Hello, Arden. Hey, all, he says. So there was all this time in the process. Now there's absolutely no time in the process. It just hits social media and then just burns through it. And everybody repeats it. And everybody makes assumptions. So the assumption is Peter Dinklage said something like, you shouldn't cast people as dwarves because that's racist or whatever. Who knows? What he may have said is something like, I didn't want to be typecast as the dwarf, and it sucks being an actor when you only get stuck in those roles. Like, I could totally see him saying something reasonable like that. And then it gets misinterpreted, if that's what happened. I don't remember the exact quote, so I think he did get blasted, so I think the quote was not good. But still, though, it's weird. It's weird. Hollywood has these rules that they selectively enforce, and that's the problem. It's the problem with the world, really. So Wonka seems to be doing well overseas. I can't imagine this movie costs too much money. Probably like $100 million. So, yeah, I think it's probably going to do okay. It's looking like. Hunger Games. We're at day 29 of its release. Again, these are Friday's numbers, but it's at 286 million. Probably break even. I think this maybe just broke even when all is said and done. I mean, it only made like a, what was it, 1.4? 1.6 mil. So that's, I think it'll limp along and probably break even, but that's about it. That's not great. Not great. It's not a disaster. It's not a failure like I think Snow White will be, like Woke Side Story was, but it's not good. I mean, they used to stop casting actors in movies that made that kind of money. Forget about being a flop. A flop would end your career, usually after the first flop. Now people get, oh no, we can't end your career. That would be discrimination somehow, I guess. So they should stop casting Rachel Zegler, because I don't think people like her. I think she damaged her brand tremendously in Snow White, and she damaged Disney's brand more. They ought to just pull that movie, but I think they invested too much money. The big news is Kite. I found Peter Dinklage exact words. Oh, okay. Was it bad? Was it really bad? Number 3 is The Boy and the Heron, which I think was number 1 last week. Let me take a quick look, because what did we do this? Did we do it on Sunday last week? I think we did. I think we did it live last Sunday. Yeah, because I had no Oddball Vintage wasn't there. So let's see. Yeah, it was number 1 last week. At, geez. Oh, wait, that was Sunday. Let me go back one more day. Oh, God. Give me the weekend. Yeah, here we go. Weekend chart. Boy and the Heron made 13 million. It's not bad. All right, so here, well, first, Arden says, Disney arguably lost more points with Brie Larson. Oh, yeah, they lost way more money. Way more points and money. I don't know. Some people say Brie has redeemed herself slightly. I don't agree. All right, so here's what Peter Dinklage says, as quoted by Kite. There's a lot of hypocrisy going on, literally no offense to anyone, but I was a little taken aback. They were very proud to cast a Latina actress as Snow White, exclamation point. But you're still telling the story of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Take a step back and look at what you're doing there. It makes no sense to me. You're progressive in one way, and then you're still making that effing backward story about 7 dwarves living in a cave together. They don't live in a cave. What the F are you doing, man? Have I done nothing to advance the cause from my soapbox? Oh boy, this is bad. I guess I'm not loud enough. I don't know which studio that is. How could you not know it wasn't Disney? But they were proud of it. All love and respect to the actress and to the people who thought they were doing the right thing. But I'm just like, what are you doing? Well, he sounds very full of himself, but I mean, again, like, dwarves are not human in that context. They are fantasy creatures like Gimli. Gimli's not human. He's a dwarf. It's a different kind of thing. There are dwarves, there are elves, there are humans. They're 3 separate things in fantasy. That's Snow White. JEC, I want to see the boy and his herring. No, it's heron. Did I say herring? The boy and the heron. The boy and the herring. Oh, this is delicious. This herring is very salty. You should have some. Wasn't the herring trying to help you? Yes, but he's so delicious I had to eat him. Ardent at Kite shows how little he knows the Snow White lore. Yeah, really. How could you not know Snow White? How can you be in movies and not know Snow White? It's crazy. And be a dwarf. I'm pretty sure he played a dwarf, like wearing a dwarf outfit. I think he was a Christmas elf in Living in Oblivion. I'm almost sure that's it. Yeah, it's Steve Buscemi movie, which you get the full cast here. Yeah, there he is. Yeah, he's in Living in Oblivion. Ardent, Snow White and the Seven Uruk-hai? Kite. He also said he would be interested in a new Disney film if it involved a effed up or cool progressive spin on it, but can't get behind a remaking of a traditional Snow White as it is. LOL. Kite, like I said, if he's not cast, then dwarfism is racism. Yeah, apparently. That's effed up, dude. JC, I've seen that Oblivion movie. He gives the same speech in it. Does he? I saw it. I don't remember the speech. I remember, the only thing I remember of it is that weird scene where the woman levitates through the wall, which is hilarious. But this was kind of the movie that sort of made Buscemi the indie figure that he became. That's so funny. But anyhow, getting back to The Boy and the Heron, not the herring. 1.4 million. It's in its 8th day. We're in Friday's numbers. 19 million domestic, 76 million overseas, 95 million. Probably not money yet. JC, yeah, he yells at the director that he's a hack for putting a dwarf in his dream sequence. Don't remember that, but it sounds correct though. Sounds right. I don't remember him having a lot of lines. The movie I remember Peter Dinklage for is that Dungeons and Dragons movie where they're a bunch of LARPers and he they accidentally summon a demon because one of the guys wants an authentic looking spell book, which I think he steals from a guy or orders it online. I forget. I don't know. He somehow gets this spell book, and it's a real spell book, and he reads from it, and it actually summons a demon. And then Peter Dinklage ends up like killed, but also he ends up the hero. It's weird. JC, Reservoir Dogs was Steve Buscemi breakthrough role. Yeah, in the mainstream, I think, but in the indie world at the time, I remember before Reservoir Dogs, everybody knew who Buscemi was in the independent movie world. But no one in the mainstream really knew him. And Living in Oblivion put him at that level. Reservoir Dogs put him at like the next level when it was like, oh, this guy Buscemi, I think. But Ardent, Knights of Badassdom. What year was Oblivion? '95. And then what year was Reservoir Dogs? Oh wait, I could just click on Buscemi's name. It wasn't before that, was it? Oh, so many movies. Okay, there's Fargo was after that. Living in Bolivia, Oblivion, 95. Reservoir Dogs. Oh, it was before. Yeah, you're right. I guess it was Reservoir Dogs then. Yeah. I stand corrected. Ardent. Buscemi had great cameos in Desperado and Things to Do in Denver When You're Dead. JC. Reservoir Dogs is 92. Again, JC always on point. And Pulp Fiction was in 94, and he was in that? I don't remember. What was he in that? Pulp Fiction. Don't remember. I remember Airheads. Oh, well. He was in stuff, but Reservoir Dogs was what put him on the map. Yeah. No, you're right. It would have been that then. I thought that came before. He was in Buddy Holly Walter in Pulp Fiction. Oh, the Buddy Holly waiter in Pulp Fiction. Yes. Okay, I think I'm remembering that. So many movies he was in. Look at all this. He has credits that beat the band, doesn't he? Let's see what he's doing now, as long as we're here. Crapopolis. Oh, that's a stupid cartoon. I don't know, that doesn't look great to me. Something with Bad Bunny. Miracle Workers. Vacation Friends 2. SpongeBob SquarePants. Dig Man. Is this... These sound like terrible credits. Bupkis TV series. The Year Between. Paperless. Hotel Transylvania. Ooh. Reservoir Dog was considered an indie movie that broke through. It was in Rick and Morty. Geez, he hasn't done a movie in a while. Oh, here's something that looks cool. The Dead Don't Die. Oh, I kind of wanted to see this thing. I think Bill Murray's in it. Yeah, it's a Jim Jarmusch zombie movie. Anybody see this? Kind of look cool. Jim Jarmusch. Getting back to the box office, though. All right, so Boy and the Heron, doing well, I think. I'm not sure how much this cost, because I assume it was made in Japan, so it probably didn't cost nearly as much as it did had it been produced here. Like here, they spend way too much money on animation because they send it overseas to be animated where they don't have to pay people. But it still costs them more money than it would be if you made it in, I don't know, South Korea or whatever. So I assume Japan has it down to a science and they pay people, but they don't go crazy. Because I think it's such an industry over there. I would imagine they have a lot of in-house guys that they're already paying. So they're just constantly cranking out stuff. So, but either way, even if they did make it over here, you know, it's getting great buzz. Number 4, Godzilla Minus One, 1.3 million. It's doing pretty well. Definitely made money because we know that it only cost $15 million to make, amazingly. So how much money could they have spent on advertising? I mean, there's a difference of 38 million there. I don't think they spent 38 million on it, so everybody's talking about this movie. Like, everyone. I have yet to hear a negative review on this movie. I desperately want to go see it when I get some time. Maybe I will this week. I could treat myself for Christmas. Go see Godzilla. That's a good Christmas gift for me. Has anyone seen this? Everybody's raving about it. I'm sure one of you guys must have seen this, right? Godzilla Minus One? No? Shocked if you haven't. Trolls band together. Who cares? 900,000. I don't know how they keep making these troll movies. I assume they're selling a lot of toys on the back end. 178 million. Just looks awful. I mean, I like cartoons. Genuinely. But there's no way you could bring me to watch Trolls, the movie, or whatever this is. Trolls band together. It just looks stupid. I miss the old Hanna-Barbera cartoons that were based on some sitcom. Like, I Dream of Jeannie had a cartoon. That was fun. Speaking of cartoons, Wish. This movie's not doing well. 107 million. Oof. Oofa. Yeah, Wish is not doing well. That is... They expected big money from this movie, and they are not getting it. I mean, they could have made it for less than 100 million, but I don't think so. The word is they probably spent more than that, and they're getting killed. This is another flop for them, along with the Marvels. Napoleon. Someone asked me about Napoleon tonight at the event, and I still haven't seen it, but they liked it. I don't know. There's a lot of mixed reviews on Napoleon. A lot of people have said that Napoleon comes off as very, very whipped, and it's all about Josephine and their relationship. And kind of hard to do well when your main character is the bad guy in a self-righteous way. Yeah. Are you talking about Wish? Or are you talking about Napoleon? Napoleon, I mean, the complaints seem to be that the movie's a little long and that it's too much about Josephine and him rather than just him. And people are pointing at it as another example of how a male character from history is being denigrated. I don't know about that. I mean, the trailer I saw looked pretty solid. But I could see it. I mean, I could see that being the angle because I could see Hollywood. Kite, Wish, yeah. Napoleon is just revisionist feminism. That's what I'm hearing. You know, some people watch these things, they just don't notice it. You know, it just kind of glides over them. And I've said this a bunch of times. It's like when you have normies who watch movies, you know, it's kind of like just shaking keys at a baby. It doesn't matter. It's the same keys. They kind of like it. So they don't really drill down into what the movie's about. They don't think about it too hard. To them, it's just like, I went to the movies, and I can't blame them. You know, I like, there's certain entertainment things that I like that way. I just go, it's just what it is. I was that way about video games for a long time, and I still kind of am. I'd rather just have a video game where I just shoot people in the face and move on. So I get that. It's just not that important to them. But, you know, eventually it catches up with them. I think this one is, if he is super cucked in it or whatever, you know, at least Ridley Scott is better at hiding it, I guess. 173 million. That doesn't sound like money because the period piece looks very expensive. Um, Renaissance, a film by Beyonce. This is money. It was money in the moment they agreed to do it. 34 mil. Made a few $100,000. This is just money in the bank. It's just extra bit of editing. That's it. That's all it is. Again, I would greenlight every one of these pictures unless it was more than a couple of mil. You know, if I didn't think I was going to make at least 5 million on it, I'd greenlight it. Why not? The expense in even putting these things out is so low on some levels. So, like back in the day, they would have to make a print of the movie, a physical print, and it'd be 3 big reels, and then they'd have to ship the reels to every theater in America so you could see the movie and they could project it. They don't do that anymore. It's all electronic now. They just go to the website, upload the damn movie, or download it, or stream the damn thing to their network. You know, they don't need to have a physical copy anymore. It's saving them tons of money, and yet they couldn't be in worse shape as an industry, which is kind of amazing when you think about it. You know, they've got technology that has allowed them to eliminate a lot of extra expense, and yet they're spending more money than ever on these movies, and they're terrible. They're absolutely terrible. But Renaissance is what it is. It's not even a movie. I mean, it's a concert film, so it's just a concert stitched together. A concert they've videotaped anyway. There you go, Joe. Oh. Next up is Poor Things. This was another controversial movie. 1.4 million. I'm glad this movie is tanking. These people were so full of themselves talking about this damn movie. Made $488,000. I think it's going to the Oscars, though. It's going to be nominated for something. Will it win? I don't know. Does it even matter? It's been out for 8 days. And, yeah, that's not a lot of money. There's no way that's money. That's like, I mean, you got Mark Ruffalo, Emma Stone, William Dafoe. I wouldn't even cover them. I assume all 3 of them got probably more than $1 million to be in this movie. It looks very expensive. It's very whimsical, a lot of model work, probably some CGI, makeup. They said William Dafoe was sitting in the makeup chair for hours for his look. So that could be hyperbola, but some of that's probably real, that he was getting a lot of makeup. So that's a lot of time and effort and money, because you can't have William Dafoe sitting in a makeup chair and not use him that day. That's very expensive. His agent ain't gonna put up with him sitting in a chair when he could be out making money. And he ain't gonna put up with it either. All these actors are like that. When they get to this level, like, every minute their time is wasted, they go nuts. And I can't blame them. Because think about the kind of money you can make if you're William Dafoe. You could just show up into some random thing and make $20,000 in an afternoon. Like, literally. He can do that. You know? Shows up, hey, do you want to be you want to make a cameo in this movie, and you know it'll take 4 hours and we'll pay you 40 grand. Who would say no to that? Right? Oh, this Saturday? Yeah, I'm not doing nothing. Sure. Ardent, it's a rare role that makes it worth covering. William Dafoe's face. Yeah, that's the other thing. He's got a real distinct look, but I mean it's not covered, but he's got a whole Frankenstein messed up face kind of thing, like he operated on himself kind of look. He's supposed to be the Dr. Frankenstein of the movie. This is feminist Frankenstein, by the way. Poor things. Emma Stone. The controversy is like some prostitute kills herself. That's Emma Stone. And then Dr. Frankenstein brings her back to life, but he puts in a brain of a toddler. And then she comes to life and then has no impulse control and just starts eating and having sex with everybody, basically. Sounds kind of gross and stupid. But it's supposedly a feminist Frankenstein, which is funny because I did a feminist Frankenstein story in Superfrat. It's called Frankengine. So if you want to go back and check that out, it's at the Superfrat site. And there's a link for just that story if you search through the Superfrat milestones. Ardent. So a film about a character stolen by a woman made by women for women. I'm not sure. Let's see. I forget who directed it. Was it a woman who directed it? Might be. Let's see. Director Yorgos Lanthimos. No, that's a dude. That's a dude. Yorgos. That's a name, though. That sounds Greek to me. Yorgos Lanthimos. Sounds like he should be a character in the movie. The writers are Tony McNamara, whose name sounds familiar, and Alasdair Gray, who I suspect that sounds female. Sounds like a female name. Doesn't have a picture. Oh, well, this person's older. Writer and actor born in 1934. Yeah, looks like everybody involved in this movie's a dude except Emma Stone. Tony McNamara, I have heard that name before. I don't know him by sight. He is a writer mostly. Oh. Yeah, writer. Okay. Let's see. He wrote Cruella. That's very feminist. And that was also Emma Stone. The rest I don't recognize. The Secret Life of Us, the TV series. I sort of know that. But that's about it. I mean, he could have just said, screw it. I'll write something incredibly feminist and get a payday. I mean, look, it's hard to make it in Hollywood. You know, on the one hand, I wouldn't write it, but on the other hand, I say to myself, well, if I was offered $200K, I mean, it'd be hard to turn down. Like, somebody offered me $200K to write a feminist screenplay, and I knew they would give me the money. Like, it was a done deal. It would have had to be super feminist. I mean, $200K would change my life. It would change my life. I could pay off my house. I could be comfortable, at least for a few years. It'd be hard to turn down, I have to say. Now, when you're living in LA, your overhead's much higher and kind of even worse in some respects. Like, my overhead's very low because it has to be because I'm poor, but you're living out in LA, you know, you're paying like $5K a month just for rent. Ardent, I'd do it for $200K. I'd be conflicted, but I'd probably, at this point in my life, I might have to do it. I'd have to think of my family and like what they would say if I took, you turned down $200K, you're out of your mind. Like, I couldn't do that to them. So, but I wouldn't be happy about it. I might insist on a fake name though as a credit. Ardent, and immediately S on and immediately S on it once I had the money. Oh, you can't do that. No, Ardent, you can't do that. That'll be in your contract. You absolutely cannot do that. They'll take the money back. They'll absolutely sue you. Oh, no, you can't do that. Unless they're idiots. Like, if they're stupid and you sign a contract without that clause in it, well, I promise you that clause will be in there. You can't say, like, maybe years after, usually, like, after, I don't know, I think 7 years, you're good. You can say whatever you want about a project. By then, they don't care anyway, but, oh my God. You write a screenplay and then badmouth it before the damn thing even comes out. Oh, you'll be so screwed. That 200K won't cover nothing. Ardent, fake name it is. Yeah, that's what I think. That's the way I would go. Just be like, but I know with my luck, everybody would find out. You hypocrite! And I'd be like, but it was 200K. I needed that money. So it's hard to like criticize people too harshly, but you know, when you see a big name, yeah. But then again, everything's relative. Like you might say, well, why does Emma Stone really need the money? Yeah, but Emma Stone doesn't live a normal life anymore. She's a big star. She's got to keep working. She's also female, which means the clock is ticking, right? She's playing these lead female roles because she's beautiful. In a few years, she won't be able to play them. She'll be transitioned to somebody's mom in the story. She might still be able to play, you know, leads under certain circumstances, but you have to, I mean, all actors have to manage their career correctly. Now, you know, the agents try to do that, but they're also greedy because they know, you know, if their client doesn't work, they don't get paid. And so there's a lot of intrigue behind the scenes. You know, if you've ever seen Entourage, they covered that in Entourage, and it's, you know, it's not unreal. Like, there are certain roles that go to certain actors for certain reasons. They're either big enough, and then some actors are offered roles just to get other actors to take it, or just to get other actors to turn it down. There's all this political intrigue behind the scenes, which is why you always hear about these movies like, you know, the super famous movies like, oh, how did Christopher Walken turn down the role of Han Solo? You know, stuff like that. He may not have been really a serious consideration, but he would have been awesome, by the way. I mean, Christopher Walken as Han Solo. I think they did a sketch on Saturday Night Live about that. I wish I could do my Christopher Walken. It's so hard to do. Every once in a while, I can do the voice. Nah, I can't do it right now. I'm too tired. Kite, in this day and age, unless it physically affects your morals, for example, actively advertises abortion, etc., the money is money. I guess, you know, it just the other problem with writing something that, you know, is sort of opposite of what you are, and don't get me wrong, I've done it. I ghost wrote some stuff I'm completely ashamed of, but I had no credit on it whatsoever, so I took that money. But yeah, it's, you know, it's never going to be that good. Ardent, turned down for being too Shatner cadenced. It's like Christopher Walken kind of talks through his nose a little bit. You know, Han Solo is my name, and I almost have it. It's a little like that. It's a little Kermit the Frog. That's a little too much Kermit the Frog. It's something like that, but it is funny. It is funny to think of him as Han Solo, though. It'd been a completely different movie. But anyhow, yeah, I mean, managing your career, it's something these guys do, and it's a lot of money too. Like, if the difference is being in a good movie, what you perceive as a good movie for like a couple of $100,000, or being in a giant movie that everybody's going to talk about and you're going to get $5 million, like that's kind of like a no-brainer for a lot of them, I think, because then they're in the same position I am. Like, you know, for Emma Stone, you know, probably $200,000 isn't going to change her life, but maybe $5 million still will. You don't know. And it's just like they have, when you're at that level, you're well known. You have to have. I mean, she has to have security. Number one, she's probably got a mansion. So I mean, it's expensive to live in LA. Next up, and again, this is Friday's number, but The Shift came in. I think that's number 10. This is from Angel Studios, $305,000. This is the religious multiverse movie. It seems to be doing somewhat okay. 9.9 million. I don't think they spent a ton of money on this thing. I mean, it's possible they shot this thing for 5. Ardent, to be fair, I couldn't see Ford as Gabriel. That's true. Harrison Ford, man, in his prime, he should have been in more movies. I don't know why he wasn't, because he did he was Han Solo. He was huge. It was huge. And about the only, I mean, he was in Force 10 from Navarone, which is an awesome movie. He was in The Cisco Kid, which is awesome. You should see that. But like, beyond those 3 movies during that period, I mean, I don't think he was in a lot. At least that I remember. Let's take a look before I say something stupid again. That would have been, God, it would have been in the 80s. I mean, then he hit, you know, with Indiana Jones, and then forget it, but seemed to be a time where he wasn't in a lot of stuff. Oh, I gotta go way back here. Okay, so yeah, so he's in American Graffiti. All right, here he is in Star Wars. Then he's in Force 10 from Navarone. And he's in the Star Wars Holiday Special. All right, he was in Apocalypse Now. I forgot about that. He's in the Frisco Kid. But, like, he's in more American Graffiti. I guess he was steadily working. But it's like one movie a year. These days they do like 3 or 4, it seems. I guess that's a pretty good rhythm. Ardent, he wanted to be taken seriously. I think he was. For a long time. Oh, there he is in Raiders. Okay. Yeah, he's in a movie a year. But they're big. I mean, they're all big. Like, starting in 79. Then in 80, he's in the Empire Star. Look at this run. Look at this run of Harrison Ford. This is why it's so hard to see him now. Empire Strikes Back, 1980. Huge. Raiders of the Lost Ark, 1981. Huge. Blade Runner, 1982. Gigantic. Return of the Jedi, 1983. Massive. Temple of Doom, Indiana Jones, 1984. Huge. Witness, 1985. I remember that movie. It was gigantic. That's quite a run. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I think, major movies. Back to back. Ardent, The Faithful Wookiees. Mosquito Coast was dark. Yeah, it's on here. It didn't do too well, I remember, but then it kind of starts to go downhill. The Mosquito Coast, Frantic, Working Girl, but then Indiana Jones, The Last Crusade, Presumed Innocent. I remember regarding Henry. I don't remember if it was any good. Then Patriot Games. He did a cameo in Young Indiana Jones. I mean, it's just one every year. Guy didn't take a break. Oh, 87 he didn't have anything. See, Mosquito Coast. I guess it was, that was the year he said, oh, I got to take a year off. I think I finally did a stinker. Yeah. So, and then it kind of starts to go downhill. See, to me, the movie that changed his image for me was Hollywood Homicide. That was in 2003. And the rumor was at that time, up until 2000 and early 2000, Ford was his own agent, like Bill Murray. Like Bill Murray's his own agent essentially. And then in 2000ish, he signed on to some big agency, and then the first movie they got him was Hollywood Homicide, which got wrecked by critics. I remember. Ardent, Devil's Own was good. What the hell is this? Jimmy Kimmel and Ben Affleck. I'm effing Ben Affleck? It's a music video. That's weird. He was in that? Yeah, this just starts to go to hell. Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull? No. Crossing Over, I don't remember that. Extraordinary Measures, don't remember that. Morning Glory, vaguely remember that. Cowboys and Aliens, awful. God, one of the worst things I've ever seen. That movie is barely watchable. Everybody associated with that should have been kicked out of movies. It's awful. Then something called 42, Paranoia, Ender's Game. Ender's Game, right. There was a lot of talk about this movie. It didn't seem to do anything. Anchorman 2, I guess he had a cameo. The Expendables, of course. Nature is Speaking, Age of Aniline. It's like nothing here. And then I guess that's why he did Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens. Sad. Another unwatchable movie, Blade Runner 2049. Jesus, what an S show that is. Like, he's got every end of the spectrum here. I mean, 6 major blockbusters back in the 80s, each one better than the next, and then only to end up in Blade Runner 2049, a mostly unwatchable movie. I mean, it's brutal. And how the hell does IMDb give it an 8? They give that an 8. Okay, so the rating of a Harrison Ford movie, I think that's the highest rated movie he has on this list. You go back into the 80s, A Frisco Kid is 6.3. What are you kidding me? Oh, Apocalypse Now, they got him at 8.4, so okay. But Empire Strikes Back, 8.7. Okay, so these are at 8, but still, that seems awfully high to me. Blade Runner 2049, that movie should be rated 1. It only because it was a movie. Piece of crap. God, I hate that movie. Alright. Let's finish this list. Animal, that Bollywood movie, $250K. Again, international box office. How the hell do we not have Indian box office on an Indian movie? It just doesn't make any sense. Can they not translate rupees into American money? Ardent, -1. Was that one of his movies? Next up, Thanksgiving, $155K. 42 mil. Probably money. They don't spend any money on horror movies. The Marvels is still in theaters, everybody. 960 theaters this is still in. 199 million. That's sad. That is not money. That is the farthest thing from money ever. That is a big loss. It's not even the budget. The rumor is the budget is anywhere from 250 mil to 300 mil. Probably is, judging by what they were spending on these friggin' movies. Meanwhile, Die Hard's back in theaters. No, that's the rating that should have been for Blade Runner 2049. From Ardent. Die Hard back in movie theaters. 1,300 movie theaters. That's cool. I like that. Still at 143 million, but them's a lot of 1988 dollars. So I adjusted for inflation. I don't know what that is. Probably a lot more. That was a big movie. I remember when that came out. It was like that changed the movie landscape. It was such a big hit that after that, and I was pushing my screenplays hard in the late 80s, early 90s. Everybody asked for Die Hard movies. Like all the pitches were like Die Hard in a blank, Die Hard in this, Die Hard in that. Every single one of them. After that is the Holdovers, 110K, 16 million. I don't know. I don't think that's money, but it could be done cheaply. Ardent, Die Hard equals Christmas movie. Nope. Bruce Willis said no. New premiere of Zone of Interest in 4 movie theaters. This is $58,000, but this is going to be Oscar bait. Zone of Interest is a World War II movie that takes place in the lives of the families of the bad guys from Germany. Like, it focuses on their family life and how they're insulating their families from the horrors of war. So it could be good. It's from A24. We'll see. Next up is Dream Scenario with Nicolas Cage. I read a review of this, and man, they wrecked it. They said it's absolutely disgraceful. The one reviewer said this movie is why they hate A24, which I was a little bit shocked. I kind of like some of the A24 movies. They seem to be trying stuff. I did like the premise, but 41K, 323 movies. It's going out of theaters. It didn't make any money, so 6.4 mil. I doubt that's money. I mean, it's a small movie, but I don't think it's that small. Journey to Bethlehem from Sony Pictures. This should be money in the bank because I assume they spent almost no money on this thing. 6.8 mil. It could be money because I don't think they spent any real money on it. There's no reason to, right? The moment you call it Journey into Bethlehem, everybody knows what it is. The people who are going to see it are going to go see it. The people who don't, they ain't going to see it. You literally just have to put it out. So, and it'll run on religious stations forever. So it's a very niche thing. You wouldn't spend a lot of money on that movie. So I bet it cost nothing. Shot mostly in a barn, in a stable, and in a desert somewhere. And I don't think there's a single actor you would know in it. And they just cranked it out in about 6 weeks, and that's it. And it's the same damn story, Jesus is born. Killers of the Flower Moon. Somebody said they liked this movie today too. I was talking movies at the show. 25K, still in 132 movie theaters, 154 million. If this is money, I'd be shocked. I mean, Scorsese knows what he's doing, but I mean, this had a lot of big names in it. It was a period piece. It has everything going against it in terms of the budget. It's 3.5 hours long, if you can imagine. I said, I'm waiting for streaming, if I see it at all. After I talked to that dude who liked it, I thought, maybe I will see the movie. I don't know. Because he seemed to really like it, but he also liked Napoleon, so I don't know. Maybe he just likes long movies. But he seemed to like it. It's funny how, like, you talk to someone who hates something and you kind of go, yeah, I think I hate that too. And then you talk to somebody who likes the same thing, and then you go, yeah, I think I might like that. So it's funny how you get influenced like that. I don't know. And then you wait a few days and it kind of goes away, I guess. But next up is Priscilla. Sofia Coppola. who for some reason is allowed to make movies. 20 million. I don't know that. You think that? I don't think that could be money. It's possible. I kind of doubt it because I think Sofia Coppola probably isn't that great at budgeting because she was born rich, born in Hollywood. Unless she passed it, it could be possible she got somebody who's really good at that and hired them and listens to them. But I don't know. It's been my experience that the next generation of Hollywood, like the Nepo babies, they call them, they're not good. They're just not good at anything. They're just too used to being pampered and preened, and so when they make a movie or a project, they just spend all kinds of crazy money. So I can't imagine this thing costs less than 20 mil. So it just, I don't know why they keep giving her projects. Is there a Sofia Coppola movie that was a hit? Let's see. Doing a lot of IMDb checking today. Coppola. How do you spell Coppola? Two P's? Two P's, maybe. There we go. Let's see. Look at our director credits. Oops. Director. Okay, so Priscilla. Probably not money. New York City Ballet. I don't know. The Channel Iconic. On the Rocks. In homage to Mademoiselle. I haven't heard of any of these things. Panther de Cartier. The Beguiled. La Travavida. A Very Merry Christmas. That was a TV special. I kind of remember that. Ardent, thank you for the spelling. Phoenix Chloroform. Dior. Miss Dior Blooming Bouquet. Oh, that's a video. The Bling Ring. Dior, Miss Dior. Another video. Somewhere. More on Dior. There's a lot of Dior things. Marie Antoinette. That movie, I vaguely remember this. Yeah, this movie might have done okay. I'm going to skip some of her videos. Lost in Translation. That's one that she seems to get the most credit for, but I don't know. I guess this movie did okay. I don't remember it being a huge hit. Let's see. I'm doing a lot of investigation today. Lost in Translation. So I'm going to guess this movie made $20 million, I'll say. Oops. 44, no. Did 44 million domestically, 72 worldwide, 117 million. Is that money? Yeah, it's probably money. It's probably money. Yeah, it says here the production budget was only $4 million. That's reasonable. If Bill Murray just did it. Lots of commercials for Dior, etc. Yeah. So, okay. All right. I can see why they're hiring her then. If she's making movies that cheap, sure. So if she did Priscilla for 5 or 6 mil, I could see it being a thing. I mean, she had Bill Murray in that movie, though. Scarlett Johansson in Lost in Translation. Yeah, I think, though, that was really before she was super famous. I mean, I think she was known then. I don't think she was super famous. Let's see, what was she in before that? Oh, shit. Where is it? Lost in Translation, 2003. Eight-Legged Freaks, American Rhapsody, Ghost World. Yeah, it's kind of biggish. Man Who Wasn't There. I remember that. My Brother the Pig, The Horse Whisperer, Home Alone 3? Yeah. Wasn't in anything super big before then. She was just super hot. What made her? I guess maybe you could say Lost in Translation did. I mean, there was a lot of buzz. I mean, Eight-Legged Freaks. I saw that. Is it good? Is it good? Is that an Alex Winter movie? It sounds like one he'd make. Oh, that's a remake. Who made that? Director Ellery Alakiam. David Arquette. Back when David Arquette was allowed to be in movies. What else? Five Nights at Freddy's still in theaters. Again, this is money in the bank. Almost $300 million for a horror movie. Yeah, baby. That's cash money. Next Goal Wins is not cash money. Only $6.9 million. Ardent good? Well, it's not great. Okay, that says it all. Love Actually is back in theaters. Did $246 million. Those are 2003 dollars, though. Probably made a lot more. And then Oppenheimer still hanging on. You're never going to get to $1 billion. Just hang it up. You got to $954 million. You were at 953 the other day. But you're not going to get to... You'd have to keep this movie in theaters permanently to get to $1 billion. I mean, it'd take you 10 years. Just take it out of theaters and bring it back for the Oscars. Maybe you pick up another 10 mil. I don't know. All right. So that is box office for Friday. It was Friday numbers, so tomorrow, more data. But I will not be doing a live stream tomorrow. Let's check the trades, see what's going on. More about Wonka. The worst movies of 2023. Oh no, why are they showing a picture of The Flash? Let's go through this list. See if they agree. Now the question always is, what do you mean by the worst movie? But we'll see, and according to this list. This is usually, I think, when it comes to a publication like Variety, these will be movies they can safely call bad because they didn't do well and nobody likes them. But, you know, nobody's really getting hurt if you say it. So, first up is Ghosted. This actually had a decent premise, and Ana de Armas is in it. But the premise was this guy's dating a girl. She's a super spy, and he's in love with her, but he doesn't know she's a super spy. So he goes to meet her someplace as a surprise and gets caught up in her crazy spy stuff. But I guess it was terrible. But Ana de Armas looking hot as hell in it, though. Number 2 is Asteroid City. I didn't see it, but Ardent will be doing my last stream this year tomorrow. Everybody tune in for Ardent. Asteroid City. I mean, you know, it looks amazing. It looks incredible. I can't believe it's that bad, but it didn't do well. It didn't do well. Your Place or Mine. This is Ashton Kutcher, who was in another movie? I guess. Don't remember this one at all. Magic Mike's Last Dance. I'm surprised this is on the list, and I'm surprised it didn't do well. Because it had pretty much everything you'd expect in a Magic Mike movie. Hot guys, but apparently it's like really bad. Like I don't know. Like they didn't even bother to try to make a story kind of bad. And Selma Hayek's all over it. I don't know. That may be why. because it is a movie aimed at women, and Selma Hayek is very hot, and I would think that women would feel threatened by her hotness, and you wouldn't put her in the movie. Put Melissa McCarthy in the movie. There you go. Heart of Stone. Oh, Gal Gadot. Okay, yeah, this was the Gal Gadot movie on Netflix where they try to make her a super spy. Yeah, I didn't feel particularly interested in it. Okay, guess that was terrible. Oh, these are different guys picking the movies. Okay, another guy picks Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. This one I'd probably agree with. This looked absolutely atrocious. To do this to a beloved character and just turn it into a horror movie is gross and stupid. Carmen, no idea. There it is, The Flash. Most people hated this thing. Paint. Did I see this movie? I definitely saw the trailer. I think I just saw the trailer. Yeah, I don't know how you can make this movie work. He was sort of Bob Ross, but he's not. And then bad things happen to him. Why would you make a movie about Ardent McCarthy? You hate Channing Tatum, huh? Well, no, the movie's not for me. I'm not going to see it. But if you put Melissa McCarthy in, you may have a lot of women going, "Oh, wow, maybe I could run a male strip club if Melissa McCarthy can get these guys." Paint, though, yeah, if you're gonna do a character who's like Bob Ross, you want nothing but good things to happen to him, or else people will hate the movie. Caligula, The Ultimate Cut. Not sure it's fair to even put this in the mix. I mean, it's an old movie. Basically, this was like acceptable porn at the time. Ardent, LOL, fair. I mean, it is X-rated. And that's it. So it was just 10 terrible movies. All right, moving on to Bounding into Comics. Twitch immediately reverses course on loosened sexual content policy. Depictions of real or fictional nudity once again banned. That is a breaking story. I'm just new to that. I don't know if you heard, and this is why I didn't want to go on Twitch. It seemed to be too much controversy on it. I'm like, I'm gonna go through all this time and effort to get on Twitch and then get banned or break the rule or whatever. I can barely manage to stay on YouTube. I'm not going on Twitch, although I kind of was tempted because of the video game thing. But it's like all they do is hot topless women playing video games. I mean, it just seems stupid, and it seems like that would dry up really quick. Ardent, Caligula has a lot of Helen Mirren being naked. Yes, and a lot of money shots, if you know what I'm saying. I did see it back in the day, or at least some of it. It's crazy because you're watching what's kind of like a regular movie with some actors you recognize, and then you're like, "Holy crap, they're having sex!" Holy crap, what is happening? So it's kind of weird. It's like. It's just a weird movie in that respect. To see actual real actors to start to have sex on camera, you're just like, what? Huh? Why did they do this? Did they just want to have an orgy and film it? Apparently. But speaking of orgy, yeah, Twitch. So, I mean, it was pretty ridiculous what they were doing. I mean, literally, these girls would be topless. And they would just have their nipples off camera and they'd be playing video games. But then they decided, a little nudity, a little tasteful nudity will be fine. No, that these people are dumb for opening that door, I think. Ardent, lots of Quaaludes on that set, I'll bet. Yeah. It was, when did they make that movie? The 70s? Let's see. I think it was the 70s, right? Caligula. 79, yeah. Peter O'Toole. Yeah, I remember him. And Malcolm McDowell. Yeah, imagine being now like Malcolm McDowell, so much older. He's still alive, right? It's kind of like embarrassing he was in that. Ardent 72. I'm thinking. Kite. They were doing it for artists. The artist took the absolute piss drawing full of pornography instead of tasteful nudity. I guess. I mean, actors, they do have to be nude sometimes, and they have to be kind of comfortable with that. The ladies barely covering and still allowed within rules. Yeah, I don't know. It just seems like, look, if you're gonna do porn, just do OnlyFans. That's what it's for, apparently. Although they're trying, there's also OnlyFans stuff that isn't porn, which is weird to me. Should be in a separate category. So it's weird. It's like you're gonna go to OnlyFans to not watch porn? What? Doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense at all to pay for porn. It's like, well, you could have all the hot dogs and hamburgers and fruit and vegetables you want, but there's that room over there. That's where the food is you pay for. And then people still go, well, I think I'm going to go to the room where you pay for food. Well, there's tons of free food out here, and some of it's really good. I mean, you have to do a little more work for it. No. I'm going to go in a room where you pay for the food. Doesn't make any sense to me. Also not making sense, James Cameron applauds Greta Gerwig for America Fiera's Barbie monologue. You basically sum up thousands of years of the female dilemma in 1 minute. I said something on Twitter the other day, and I'll repeat it now. I think men who support feminists are only doing it because they want to bang feminists. Or, in the case of someone like Cameron, maybe he's only doing it because he wants to cover, potential problems down the road, I'll say. But who knows? Maybe he believes. Maybe his wife pushed him into it. Maybe his agent pushed him into it. Or maybe he just likes it. Zachary Levi expresses interest in playing Shazam again. Oh, gee, you express interest in working again? I guess you would. Ardent, Cameron has neutered himself, self-hating male. Seems that way, too. Just so weird because, man, after Terminator 2, I just thought, that guy is a genius. He is inside my brain. Now I just think, I never want to see another Cameron movie ever again. I have no interest in Avatar whatsoever. I hated the first Avatar. Hated every second of that movie. No, will not, refuse to see any more of it. And I can't imagine sitting through hours of it. God. That would be my personal hell. Being forced to watch all the Avatar movies. Awful. Of course, the big story this week. I don't know how I didn't start rambling about this when I first started, but I'm a little punchy. Marvel and DC writer Mark Waid rejects Mark Millar's call to root out comic book cancel pigs. Dishonesty paints supporters as the alt-right. Ardent, The Abyss was so good. It was. I don't get it. I don't know. People sometimes turn a corner and they ruin themselves. It's just that simple, I think. So anyway, the big controversy this week in comics. I'll try not to get too deep into this rabbit hole, but real quick. So there was a comic book store owner who owned a store called the Comic Palace in Massachusetts. His name is Glenn, and he made a very innocuous video that went viral. And the video basically said the usual stuff about comics. Stuff like we've been talking about for months and months and months. Hey, everything's kind of woke and stupid, and these writers seem to put a lot of self-inserts, and they don't do a good job writing the comics, and it's really hurting the industry, right? And I saw the video fairly early on in the controversy, and I just thought, yeah, sure, good point. Didn't think anything of it. Well, the thing like exploded across the internet, and everybody in the comic book community anyway was talking about it. And it was like, whose side are you on? Are you on Glenn's side? Are you on the side of the evil alt-right? Or are you on Glenn's side, the side of the evil alt-right? Are you like saying, no, the comic book industry is in great shape? So Ethan Van Sciver talked about it, and then Mark Millar weighed in, and Millar has been basically on a tear saying, I just want to make comics and I want to be nice to everybody. So he's said, had cordial back and forth with Ethan Van Sciver and other people, and then these people tried to cancel him for it. And so I guess it was Millar who came up with the term cancel pigs. I forget who it was. And they called the people who try to cancel you cancel pigs. And then that started trending, and everybody picked up on it. And so now we're making fun of all the woke people and calling them cancel pigs. One of the people, if you're interested, who has written about this subject is a woman by the name of Penny Parker, and she has an upcoming book called Generation Simone. And she is a journalist who investigated what's called the Whisper Network. And what the Whisper Network was initially, my understanding was, it was a Facebook group for female comic book professionals to talk about their various issues. But what it descended into was a toxic sort of secret club where the women would get together and cancel people in comics so they could get their work, essentially. And Mark Waid, speaking, if you think Cameron went from zero to talentless, Mark Waid, I think, has really destroyed himself. Not just on this, but on other issues too. Apparently, the word is he's notorious for losing his temper, and his politics are very, very left. And he lost his damn mind over this and started ranting online things that I don't even want to read it because it's so stupid. I think some of it's here, but he calls basically anybody who doesn't agree with him alt-right. So he's very political. Part of the problem, I think, with people in the comic industry who have gotten way too political. Like, I'm political. I like to talk about politics. And I don't even particularly feel that I'm that well versed in them. But, you know, I try to be. And, like, somebody calls me out, I'll just be like, oh, well, I guess I was wrong about that. You know, but the people who are on the left, a lot of times I think it becomes their personality because they're insecure to begin with, and to be wrong, like at first the whole leftism thing, calling everybody racist. JC, Bounding into Comics just got paused, Tony. All the main guys have left. Their new site is Fandom Pulse. Oh, okay, I gotta check that out. Yeah, I wonder what happened. What happened? Do you know that story? I had heard a rumor like that because I follow one of the writers, John Del, I forget his name. I want to say Torres, but I don't think that's right. Yeah, he mentioned that in one of his tweets, and I was kind of shocked because so far it looks mostly the same. Even this seemed fine. I wonder what happened. Did they get bought out or pushed out? Interesting. But Mark Waid, I think, like Stephen King and so many others, has gone so far left, so TDS, I think it's ruined him. I think it's ruined his brain. Like, his brain doesn't process like it did before. Like, and I met Waid back in the 90s when I was doing my TV show. We interviewed him, and he was just a nerd on the rise, making his bones in the comic book industry. He was mildly famous then. He was doing well, on the rise, had made it into Marvel and DC, was making good money, was totally nice and cordial to us when we interviewed him. Seemed fine. So I was pretty shocked when I heard his behavior outside of my interaction with him. I was kind of shocked. I was like, that doesn't really sound like him. And he did have some talent. Kingdom Come I thought was good. I like Kingdom Come. Now, a lot of people say, well, that's the art. Yeah, it's a pretty good story. Now, granted, his good stories, I think, have always relied upon the history of the Marvel and DC universe. But, give the guy some credit, he at least knew it backwards and forwards. Like, Mark Waid would regularly trounce people in comic book trivia at comic book shows. I mean, he knew it that well. But that all being said, now, the stuff he's said and done over the last few years, I just don't understand why he's even bothered. What his whole thing with the guy, your boy Zach, where he seemingly tried to cancel his Antarctic press deal, that just was uncalled for. That really made me go, oh God, no, I'm not going to support this guy anymore. So this is just another incident, it seems. I don't know. It might be at this point attention seeking, because I don't think he's really doing all that much work. And he did try to launch his own stuff on a web comic site. Didn't really work out for him. I don't know if the model was really functional. I didn't really see any of the projects. The art looked fine. But his original stuff hasn't really taken off. So he may be one of those guys that's only good enough for the Marvel and DC stable. You know, he's good for that, but if he has to create his own guys, nah, doesn't really work. Some guys are like that. But anyhow, this cancel pig thing has been trending, and Mark Waid, if he's not careful, he's going to get himself in trouble again. One of these days, he's going to get sued by somebody who has real money if he's not careful, I think. So I think he should just calm down, bow out of it, and stop making comments. But some people can't help themselves. For me, I'm just like, at a certain point, I got stuff to do. I don't have time for this internet drama. Like the other day, I had a guy, I think it was a girl. She lost her damn mind on a video I did on Bitchute. I left up her post. I don't think I banned her completely, but she was talking about Jewish people. I'll just leave it at that. It was pretty crazy. And I was just like, at first I'm like, well, I guess I should argue. And then I just thought, what am I arguing with this maniac for? Like, she's out of her mind. her comments were like off the charts. I'm like, I'm not interested in even discussing it with you. And she left like 15 comments on the same video. It was nuts. I just thought, I'm not giving that any oxygen. I don't know why he doesn't do the same. Like, with the money he must have or made or is making, I don't know why you would even bother. I don't know how I'd have time to make these videos if I was making the kind of inroads that these guys did. I don't know how Ethan Van Sciver has time for it. But Fandom Pulse, I'm going to have to check that out. Yeah, I'm going to have to... Jeez, wish I had known about that. I wish there was some announcement. Hollywood Reporter. Men broke all of Hollywood's red carpet rules in 2023. I guess. They all look like... Man, those are bad outfits. Would you wear any of those clothes? Even Cillian Murphy does not look good. Is that a see-through top? What are you doing, dude? Guys, wear men's clothes, please. You all look like, as they used to say back in the day, fruits. What the hell are these clothes? Dumb. This is why normal men's fashion It's just the same thing over and over again. Ardent, only argue if it's fun. Yeah, that's good advice. Ardent, men wear tuxedos. Exactly. It's a uniform. That's why you love it. Maybe you do a little different, slightly different tie. Nah, that's about it. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar undergoing surgery for broken hip. Oh, wow. He must be getting up there if he's got a broken hip. That's rough. And he's tall. Tall guys have it rough when they get old. What is this? Glad CEO. Why fellow travelers checks coveted and rare boxes with LGBTQ storytelling. What the hell are you even talking about? I don't even understand what that headline means. Bob Iger's Disney self-evaluation revealed in paid discrimination fight. He had a self-evaluation? So Bob was in charge of saying how well, let's see how well Bob did in his work. I'm doing a great job. Well, look at all that. All the boxes are checked at 5. 5 out of 5. I'm a 5-star president. Ardent, we have the same birthday. Me and Kareem. Oh. He was great in Airplane. I loved him in that. Jason Momoa says the future of Aquaman films is not looking too good. Well, no duh. No duh. Tell us something we don't know. Jesus. I can't even believe they're releasing this thing. It's gonna, oh man. I always keep forgetting about it, which is another reason it's probably gonna tank. They should have taken Amber Heard right the F out of that movie. If you had taken Amber Heard out, I think this movie would have had a chance. Like, the fans would have been like, yeah. And somebody suggested online that Johnny Depp should take her role. That would have been hilarious. I could totally see Johnny doing it too. Right? He shave and, put on a bunch of makeup and talk in a high voice. Oh man, it'd be funny as hell. Ardent, Game of Death. Game of Death. What are you talking about, Game of Death? What else? Warner Brothers wins a bidding war for Ryan Reynolds' Channing Tatum's package, Calamity Heist. So I guess that's going to be a movie with those two in it. I have high hopes because Ryan Reynolds is in it and he's funny. Channing Tatum, he was funny at the in The End of the World. He's very funny in that, but he only makes a cameo. So I got to give him a little credit. Mayim Bialik says she's no longer hosting Jeopardy's syndicated show. Yeah, no duh. Oh, Game of Death. Bruce Lee, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Right, the movie. I thought you meant something I said on here. All right, moving on to Bleeding Fool. Will Wonka be a hit or another big budget flopbuster? I don't think it'll be a flopbuster. I think it might not be gangbusters, though. I don't think it's going to make a lot of money. But I don't think it was... I mean, in terms of blockbusters, I don't think it was that expensive. I don't think. Although the CGI on Hugh Grant to make him small might be kind of big. I don't know. Saw 11 confirmed along with planned release date. So many unanswered questions in Saw 1 to 10. I don't know what you're going to do with this movie. He's dead, by the way. The character's dead in the timeline. The cool thing about Saw 10, if you can call any of the Saw movies cool, was that they went back in time and did sort of a movie that kind of connects the dots in a lot of ways and created an interesting sort of backstory. It was kind of like a prequel that worked in a way, because the character actually dies of cancer and So this was before he dies of cancer, but the wind up is the doctors diagnose him and then they fake treat him and then he kills them all, which is kind of a cool premise. And then they even bring in the daughter character who was in one of the later movies. I think she gets killed too. So I don't know what they're going to do with this thing. You can't do another one of those. But does it really matter as long as a lot of people get killed in disgusting and gory ways, I guess? Not for me, but director James Cameron confirms cast returns for Avatar 3. So you should see that sometime in 2050, I'm guessing. Take your time, I guess, James. I don't know. Nah, this should come out sooner. But I got no interest in it. I mean, God, I hate that first movie. I don't know why people love it, but apparently they do. Daredevil Born Again is no longer part of the Disney's MCU. It's going to be like an imprint of Marvel, like the comics sort of were. Remember when they took like Daredevil and Punisher and a couple others and put them in their own imprint, and then it was going to be like, I think it was called Marvel Max or something. Yeah, it's going to be like that. I think it's called Marvel Spotlight, which I think was an imprint at Marvel at one point, and it's going to be more R-rated. I don't know how that's going to jibe with Disney Plus, but the fans are more excited about that. I mean, they've kind of ruined the character, but maybe it could come back from it. Maybe it could be the kind of thing that Daredevil in the MCU is in the golden costume, but the real Daredevil doesn't wear that stupid costume and shows up in his own series, which isn't connected to the wacky MCU that's being ruined by the Marvels and everything else. So maybe. Trial update. MCU star Jonathan Majors admits he's a monster. Probably not a good thing to do during a trial like that. Ardent Kang going bye-bye. I don't know. They released this video of his girlfriend chasing him on a street when supposedly he had abused her or hit her or whatever. So it kind of doesn't look good because he's trying to get away from her and she's chasing after him. So it kind of supports more his claims, but again, you know, only the people in the relationship know for sure. I don't know if this is a shakedown by her or if he's actually abusive or both. I have a conspiracy theory that the studio has pushed this because they want to get out of the Kang contracts, let's say. And I'm guessing they have a lot of contracts and a lot of money committed that they don't want to commit anymore because this has gone belly up. And this could be the way they put the kibosh on it. Like, so Jonathan Majors gets convicted of something, and then that's a breach of contract, and then they cancel him, and they cancel the movie, and they cancel everything. I mean, I think they probably could do that without all this drama, but maybe they feel like the optics are worth it, because then they can say it's all his fault and not the movie's fault. And then when they transition to some, CW version of the Marvel Universe, they'll be like, well, it's not our fault. It's just nobody's interested anymore for some reason. Yeah, for some reason. Oh, McFarlane G.I. Joes? Possibly, because they're doing a partnership with Hasbro. Let's see. Let's see what they announced. Well, here is, that looks like John Constantine. That looks pretty cool. That's a cool looking figure. Oh, yeah. Looks like he'll be adding Transformers, Power Rangers, G.I. Joe, and Dungeons & Dragons to their lineup, kicking off with Transformers and G.I. Joe products. Well, those should do well. Those should do well. McFarlane's toy company is good. There's no arguing otherwise. They do these detailed, super detailed figures. I mean, you could just see from this picture. Let's see, do they have any others? No. I've seen some of the McFarlane figures. They look good. Know what I'm looking at after the stream? Yeah, I mean, they have some of the best sculptors in the business, really. You know, I don't buy toys or collect toys, I should say, because these are more collector toys. Although some kids play with them. But yeah, going to the shows, I've seen a ton of Todd McFarlane stuff, and it looks cool. If I bought toys, I would definitely buy McFarlane toys. I mean, they're cool looking. They have cool accessories. I don't know how much they are, but the Funkos are the ones I don't understand. Those are trash to me. I don't know why anybody would buy a Funko. They're Beanie Babies, essentially. These, at least, like, they just look cool. And that's what they should all strive to be. They have cool accessories, too. That Constantine looks great, and I need a studio setting stuff. Yeah, that's my story. Yeah, I had an artist who was like that. He said, he was buying toys like crazy, and I'm like, what? Why are you buying so many toys? He's like, oh, it's for my studio. It's for my studio. And he did set up a studio. It was pretty cool. And, he'd had shelves, and he had his figures. He was more into sports stuff, too, so he had a bunch of sports stuff as well. I don't know. You can see the background. It's just cluttered with crap. I guess if I had money to blow, maybe I'd buy a few of these. The only toys I was sort of interested in were the Simpsons at one point. When I was really big on the Simpsons and working for the Simpsons, I thought, oh man, they're so cool with the talking toys that you plug them in and they say something. But Funko is going the way of the Beanie Babies, as well it should. They are essentially plastic Beanie Babies to me. I'm starting to see a lot of them in secondary stores, so I think the market could bottom out of them anytime, at any moment. And then you're going to see a lot of them around. You're going to see shows where they're going for $1 a pop. And I don't think people will buy them. The only reason to buy them, I think, were collectibles. That was it. I don't know anybody who plays with them. At least the Todd McFarlane toys, I could see people at least trying to play with them because they're just so intricate. It kind of takes you, you want toys that take you out of your head and take you to a different realm, right? That's the way it was when I was a kid and I had G.I. Joe. It was like, oh, I'm going to be, like G.I. Joe was one guy when I was a kid. One guy. It wasn't a team. He was a guy with a beard and a fuzzy fro. And he had a Jeep and a wench. And he went on adventures. One guy. Now it's a giant list of guys. But back then, it was cool. It's fantasy. It's like, oh, I'm going to be G.I. Joe. I'm going to go in the jungle and use my wench to, I don't know, lift an elephant. Ardent, wonder if they'll do Azrael. I suspect they'll do everybody eventually. Azrael's probably down on the list, though. He'd probably be like an extra. I don't know. Azrael's kind of not important, but never really quite jibed, I think, in the DC universe. Constantine was kind of cool. I liked him. I think they kind of ruined his character just like they ruined everything else before things got woke, but all right, what do we got in Deadline? Anything over here? Daytime Emmys? I don't care. Charlie Sheen, back in form. Chuck Lorre, give this man a sitcom. I guess. I mean, he is funny. You gotta admit, Charlie Sheen, if anything, he's funny, but these two, God, the controversy went on and on. Taylor Swift curated a breakup playlist for Jessica Chastain, actress recalls. It's weird. She's really obsessed with breakups, that Taylor Swift, isn't she? Okay, here's Kareem again. Apparently the broken hip was due to a fall at an LA concert. He attended a concert and then fell. That's no good. Kind of an old guy to be going to a concert, but sure. What else? What else? Let's see. I think that's about it. That's about it. And finally, over at Cosmic Book News. Oh, Doctor Who. Jeez, I forgot about this. Guess this happened at the beginning of the week. Doctor Who destroyed by Disney, just like Marvel and Star Wars, confirmed. Yeah. So, I think we may have talked a little bit about this. I don't know if it was that bad when last week. Forget when most of it dropped, but yeah, they introduced the new black gay doctor, and then it just got worse from there, if you can imagine. So they had this scene where the doctor splits into two doctors, and for some reason, when they split, they look completely different, like completely different guys. One's black, one's white. Kind of makes no sense. It makes zero sense, but okay. But the show went off the rails with the female doctor. They ruined the show, I think. Ardent, doctor had a pants baby. Yeah. Yeah, and this, I don't know if they show it in this article. It's so ridiculous. See, they split, and as they're splitting, there's another shot of it somewhere. They're like splitting from their crotch where their penises are. It's so stupid. And I think that was completely done on purpose. Because Russell T. Davies, another guy, here was a guy who seemed very competent at his job, doing some of the better Doctor Who episodes, and now he's doubled and tripled down on destroying the show with wokeness. And he does not give an F. He is like, seems hardcore into it. You can have the damn show, dude. Who cares? Look, corporations inevitably are going to ruin a property. There's just no chance the property can stay viable forever. It can stay viable for a long time. Look at James Bond. James Bond stayed viable for a long time. A lot of different Bonds. But even by Pierce Brosnan's time, it started to degrade. It had degraded quite a bit. Nothing lasts forever. Doctor Who is definitely in that sort of realm. 60 years. I mean, this was the 60th anniversary special. There have been too many doctors. He was supposed to be done at 13 or 12. It's done. It's over. And it's sad. I like Doctor Who. I used to watch it when I was a kid, and I had a good time watching it, even through some of the later years, but it's done. It's done. It really started to go downhill when they brought it back. Like Fox bought it, I think, and then tried to do an American version of it. Was not well received. Ardent, I want a good Conan. Well, Schwarzenegger was okay. I thought he was fine. He was funny. He was perfect for the role, really. I mean, he was built for the role. I don't think you're going to get anybody better than Schwarzenegger. You need somebody with an accent, number one. But look, you might get a version. The best corporations could do is someday, a property like Conan, a property like Tarzan, a property like Doctor Who or James Bond. For a short window of time, the corporation cares enough about the product to put some money in it, but not enough to micromanage it and ruin it. They just say, make another Conan movie, or make another Doctor Who, or make another James Bond. And then they assign a bunch of people, and it just so happens it's pretty good, if not great. Ardent, American Red Dwarf was utter garbage too. I didn't know they did an American Red Dwarf. Wow. That doesn't seem like a good idea. Yeah, that seems like a really bad idea, because I did watch most of Red Dwarf, and that was pretty damn good. I don't think you could Americanize that. You would have to make it completely different. But again, these people, they get an IP, and what do? Well, they say, we have an IP, and we got to make it good. Oh, but we should make it different too, because the people working in the business, their first thought is, I'll make it different and then I'll make my mark. Now, if you have an IP that's in the toilet or nobody's heard of it and they use it and make their mark and it happens to be good. So I'll give you an instance. The ending for Planet of the Apes is not what happens in the movie. The movie changed the book. And then it turned out it was a brilliant move. And the book, or the movie, wonderful. No shade at the book, but it's one of the classic movies of all time, Planet of the Apes, the first one. And they've done that with several other projects. Sometimes you can change stuff. I would say the recent The Batman with Robert Pattinson, really good version of Batman. I really like that one. Really, Matt Reeves pretty much hit everything. I can find very little fault with that movie, other than there's a rumor that he may have stolen some of the script, but he's getting sued, I think. But beyond that, I think you got to say it's a pretty damn good movie. But inevitably, a guy like Matt Reeves moves on. Look at what happened to the X-Men, right? So the X-Men starts... Arden, God damn you all to hell! The X-Men starts, and everybody goes cuckoo bananas, and it's great. And then they one of the studios wanted to hire away Bryan Singer, and the studio that was running the X-Men franchise at that time, I read, was they had switched executives. And typically in Hollywood, if the previous executive greenlit something, you don't want it to succeed if you're the new guy. So you torpedo it. So he tried, word is, he tried to torpedo X-Men 2 by trying to hire away Bryan Singer. And when he wouldn't go, they cut his budget. Bryan Singer still managed to deliver a good movie with Nightcrawler, and it was a big hit. Then the third movie happened. And finally, they gave Bryan Singer what he wanted and hired him away from the X-Men. And then they dumped it on the next guy, who apparently wasn't particularly experienced, and it was an S show. So saith the trades. And that's what happens. So it's not, these people aren't thinking of, well, what's the best thing for Doctor Who or Star Wars or whatever. They're thinking, what's the best thing for me in my career? And typically in the arts, the best thing is to make an impression. To put nipples on the Batman costume was one of my favorite analogies. That's why Joel Schumacher bragged about putting nipples on the Batman costume. Hey, he got to direct one of the damn movies. And he's not too bad a director, I have to admit. It's crazy, but true. But eventually they just destroy everything, because they're never going to keep it consistent. New people come in and they go, oh, well, we know better. Or they just make a mistake. They think they are doing good, and oh, this person was recommended, yeah, let's hire him. And then it turns out they're terrible. The only way these things could survive is like Star Wars survived for a long time. Star Wars survived prior to the prequels because George Lucas essentially ran the show. And he was the creator, essentially, and he kept everything as consistent as he could. And so did his people. Ardent, self-serving self-interest, and what's that other word? Damn. And fan faith can't coexist, sadly. Yes, exactly. Eventually, one of the reasons Doctor Who was so great for such a long time was because the show didn't really make any money. And the BBC would run shows all the time that didn't make money because they're the BBC. And it was popular, but it wasn't too popular. It was popular enough to get renewed, but it wasn't popular enough that there was money in it. Once there was money in it, all the greed heads showed up with their hands out. And then they fought over it, and this is how you get, when the woke trend dies, and this stuff goes back to being whatever the next trend is. Who knows what the hell the next trend is? Let's say it's being super, super based and religious, which is what I think it'll be. These characters will all go that way. So imagine a Doctor Who, sometime I'll say in the next 10 years, who shows up, and not only is he not gay, not woke, he's super based. They write out all the woke stuff. They literally write it out, or do storylines where they go back in time and basically say, yeah, that wasn't the real Doctor Who. That's all BS. And in fact, those guys are evil and blah, blah, blah. In fact, that was probably the master at that rave. They will. Doctor Who meets Jesus, says Arden. Yeah, exactly. I bet the next Doctor Who 10 years into the future will be religious. He'll be, he'll find God and he'll be semi-religious, because that'll be a way to do storylines, and it'll be a way to attract an audience. And at that time, it might be the audience. Now, it might not be Jesus, might be another religious figure. I won't say, because YouTube might get mad. But they woke this thing up as hard as they could. I mean, I've never seen anything as gay as the new Doctor Who trailer for the new Ardent Father Who, the new Doctor Who. They literally, I mean, I made a joke last week, you may remember, about Doctor Who being super gay and going to a rave. That's exactly what they're doing in the first episode. He literally goes to a club. Like, it's the gayest thing ever. And has no business being in Doctor Who. Doctor Who wasn't gay. Doctor Who didn't go to raves. Even if he was, he wouldn't go to raves. He was the biggest nerd on 2 feet. Now they're getting completely away from that. They've hired this guy who's like a model, wearing hot clothes, posing. It's just not Doctor Who. And it has nothing to do with science. They've thrown all the science out the window in an attempt to appeal to an audience that, I don't know what audience this is for. Gay guys who are a little bit nerdy, but not too nerdy, but very fashionable, but very woke. Like, how many people is that? Not enough to sustain an audience, in my view. No. And David Tennant really ought to be ashamed of himself. He could have said no to this. If anybody could have said no to this, it would have been David Tennant. He could have came in and said, listen, I'll come back as Doctor Who and save the show, but I'm not saying this. I'm not doing this. He could have done something, I think. I think he has that power. Arden, 7. What? 7 gay guys. Yeah, I mean, it's just ridiculous. So, would I watch Doctor Who now? My God, what are you, insane? No, of course not. They've completely made it Ardent and one crazy cat lady. They've completely made it totally untenable for people like me and most fans of the old show. The old show was charming, nerdy, sci-fi. This show, way too slick, too loud, too garish and stupid, and very full of itself. Russell T. Davies, I don't know what they're paying you, dude. I don't know what's going around in your brain, but when you see this, you realize that a lot of what's happened before, I think, was an accident. It was an accident that he actually did decent shows. Or, back then, he was allowed to hire, people based on merit, and they're just not doing that anymore. Hollywood, a lot of companies not hiring based on merit. By the way, be very careful of that. Be very careful if you get a doctor that hasn't been hired based on merit. Be very careful if you have a pilot that hasn't been hired based on their merit. That's why I don't want to fly or go to the hospital anytime soon. So, Doctor Who's just been obliterated. and they'll continue to make fun of it until the show's off the air. And they've literally lost 50% of their audience with this special. The ratings dropped from the 50th anniversary to the 60th by 50%. That's a massive loss. And that doesn't even begin. Now now assume you go into the first episode and you keep that audience. I don't think you will. No. I think that audience will shrink to nothing. Next to nothing. But part of the problem with the BBC, the whole reason the show lasted as long as it did, is because they didn't have to worry about ratings. That's probably going to be the same thing this time around. It's going to be on forever. So, Ardent, story quality declines proportionally to the production value. Yeah, I would say that would be the case with Doctor Who. I mean, there was a window increase to production value. Yeah, there was a window there where it was pretty good balance. Like, you know, the guy with the leather jacket who now refuses to be involved if Russell T. Davies is in it, and Peter Capaldi. I mean, some of that stuff was good, but even that was a little overproduced. I feel the decline of Doctor Who really started with the guy with the leather jacket. You know, when it came, discounting the Fox stuff, which was stupid. They never should have done the Fox special. I mean, that was just a dopey idea. That Fox could take Doctor Who and make it a cool American thing. That wasn't going to happen. So Fox is just as guilty in some respects as the BBC. But, you know, it's sad, but it's over. But you can move on to new things, and that's the beauty of it. So there's plenty of new stuff out there, the Pineys. So you got to get out there and find new stuff that you're going to love. And you will. Trust me, you will. I mean, back in the day, there were so many different novels and sci-fi things. And, you know, same thing with Conan. I mean, you got RJ over at the Fourth Age. He's doing his version of Conan. That's coming out or came out. You know, there's tons of this stuff out there. Tons of it. You just got to look for it. It's just harder to find if it's not super, super famous. That's the one advantage that the corporations have. That's why I hate, you know, when I was going to horror cons last year, I was seeing a lot of corporate horror. And I was seeing the same pattern that, you know, the sci-fi guys and the comic guys went through. They're doing the same thing with they have these major characters in horror and they push them endlessly. They push products on people endlessly. They're going to saturate the market until people are absolutely sick of them. And they kind of have with Mike Myers and Halloween. It's kind of over. But they won't stop making them. They'll only stop making when there's no money, which is why you don't give these people your money. The moment the money's gone, a magical thing happens. People in Hollywood panic and go, oh my God, what are we going to make now? I don't know. We don't have any IPs. Anybody wants to see? Well, we have to buy new ones. Can we hire a writer? I don't know. I haven't talked to one in 20 years. There's got to be somebody. Look on the internet. See if you can find me a writer. And hopefully somebody new squeaks in. That's the only way it happens. These people have to lose everything. They have to lose a ton of money. And until they lose enough money, they're going to keep doing this, unfortunately. They're just going to keep ruining. Look at Disney. They're doubling down. There's no backing off. The only thing that might happen is Bob Iger may finally be out. That's it. He may be done. Ardent. Cleaston, Smith, Tennant were good. Capaldi had potential, but they changed the wrong things. Ardent, corporate horror, being stuck in a cubicle. No, I mean just that the major figures in horror are like Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees, Freddy Krueger, and a couple of others, Leatherface, and they're just everywhere at the, horror cons. They're just endless. They're like the Star Trek and Star Wars of sci-fi cons. It's like way too much stuff. And it's like, can't you move on? Can't you move on? I mean, some of them were okay, but move on. There's other horror stuff. But, you know, again, it's just easier for people. And again, fans don't have the time to dig deep into this stuff, so they kind of skim the top. And what do they skim? Well, they tend to skim the most popular stuff because it's pushed constantly, which is why it's so hard for new guys to break in. Ardent, yeah, I got you. Joke bomb. Oh, sorry. It's hard to read jokes on text. But Elon Musk Grok explains AI. Grok AI explains Disney's woke failure. Yeah, I mean, it's what I constantly talk about. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes set 300 years after Caesar's death. I so don't care. I mean, this is another example of an IP that just won't die. Charlton Heston. I was about to wrap up, but I got to talk about this. So Charlton Heston was in the first movie, and he famously never wanted to be in sequels. But they bugged him and bugged him and bugged him, and he said, look, I'll agree to be in the sequel under one condition. And they said, what? At the end of the movie, the Planet of the Apes is destroyed and everybody dies. So the movie studio said, okay. And they made the second Planet of the Apes movie, where at the end, they all die. And the planet is literally destroyed. They nuke the entire planet at the end of the movie. Spoilers, by the way. Ardent, I blame Mark Wahlberg. Yeah. So, that's why the Planet of the Apes movies are all prequels. Because then, the studio, it still was popular enough that the studio said, okay, we can't make a sequel because we killed everybody, but we'll go back in time and make a prequel. And so they did. And then they made the TV show. And they just won't stop making Planet of the Apes. Like, I don't hate the new Planet of the Apes movies, although I hate the one with Mark Wahlberg. That movie's unwatchable. That movie should be thrown, I don't know, into the ocean. Prisoners should be made to watch it as punishment. It's so bad. The other movies are okay, but they're not really Planet of the Apes to me. They're just, I don't know. I don't know what they are. They're okay. Andy Serkis is, I met him. He's a nice guy. He's very talented, but, it's, I'm just so done with it. I don't know. It's like, move on. Move on. To me, the greatest Planet of the Apes sequel was when I was playing Dungeons and Dragons and my friend made a Planet of the Apes dungeon. It was the greatest dungeon ever. It was so much fun. So we were killing the Planet of the Apes guys. And they had machine guns, so we'd kill them and take their machine guns in Dungeons and Dragons. You don't get too many machine guns. And so then we were like, oh, we got these machine guns. But he, of course, called them wands of magic missiles because that was the only way we would understand what they were. Ardent loves Circus in Black Panther. He's all right in that. I like him. I mean, I hear he's great in the Luther movie. I hear he's awesome in that. So I've been meaning, that's on my list of things to go back and watch. But I'm just so sick of this IP. It's like, it's not even what it was. I don't even know if it has anything to do with the book anymore. At this point, it's so far removed from the original. I can only imagine writing something like that and then getting in a time machine and then going ahead 200 years to see what it was. In some ways, I think it's degenerated into something else. And I don't like that. I don't like the degeneration of it. I don't like the constant remakes because I think it does degenerate the work. I think you need something that someone worked on and thought about that was new. And I think we're losing talent that can do that. I just don't see them anymore. The guys that they got coming up, their original stuff sucks. It sucks so much. Like the crazy movie we talked about in the beginning about the society. It's one of the reasons it sucks so much is the tone is all wrong. And it would be so easy to fix it and turn it into a comedy. Instead, it's not a comedy. It's ruined by its own self-serving interest or self-importance. And there's been a lot of series like that too. I think The X-Files and The Sopranos, and there's been a bunch of other TV shows, they were just ruined by their own success. They just got so full of themselves, and then it became something else, and you were like, what happened to the show I really liked? Why not just make that? I don't know. Anyhow, Joan is back here yelling at me. So I think it's time for me to wrap up. Oh my God. It's 9:42. Whew. Been a long live stream. Okay. Not live streaming tomorrow. I want to thank you all for tuning in. So final thoughts. Next week is Christmas Eve. I absolutely cannot do a live stream on Christmas Eve because I'm Italian and Christmas Eve is bigger to us than Christmas Day. We actually do most of our celebration on Christmas Eve. So I'm not doing anything on Christmas Eve. I don't even know if I'm making videos. So look for me on Saturday again. I'll do a Saturday stream. I got nothing going on that day. And then Christmas is coming up. So I hope you guys are ready for Christmas. Arden says, have a good week. Great Xmas. A great Xmas. And see you next time. Yes. See you next time. Have a happy holidays. Merry Christmas. The next thing for me, besides a live stream, will be I'll be at Level Up Entertainment on the 30th. That's way after Christmas. And I got a bunch of things in January. So that's going to be fun. I want to thank everybody for tuning in again. See you in the next one.